10 terrifying plane finds. Rescuers' deadly footage. Number 1. Malaysian Airlines MH370 crash cause. 10th. 6-hour combs. After MH370 vanished from radar, it mysteriously still sent 6 hours of signals to an Indian Ocean satellite. First, note that aircraft positioning depends on radar, primary and secondary. Primary, the classic type, has limits. Return signals fade, so real-time tracking is imprecise, and coverage extends only about 160 kilometers in practice at long range. To expand monitoring and data, secondary radar emerged. It covers more than primary radar, using onboard aircraft transponder signals. So many regions rely on secondary radar for air traffic control, but its transponder can be switched off or sabotaged. In ATC blind zones, if a plane's transponder is off or failed, it's nearly invisible and hard to track. But why did they know back then the plane hadn't crashed? Besides radar, it carried a maritime communications system too. System readies for accidents, keeping emergency links with the outside world. After contact was lost, the plane had 7 brief electronic connections with Indian Ocean, 2 started by the plane and 5 by Inmarsat ground stations. 2 satellite calls were made but went unanswered. For 6 hours after disappearing, MH370 still sent signals to satellites, showing no catastrophe, and that it remained airborne. Though the plane could talk to satellites, other onboard systems, paging and cockpit radios, never contacted the ground at all. Does that mean someone purposely shut them down? If that's really the case, how can the 7 signal links be explained? What are your thoughts on this, viewers? 9th. Delayed search action. This year, 10 years after MH370 vanished, Malaysia suddenly announced reopening the disappearance investigation. After all these years, still hope. After MH370 went down, issues at Malaysia Airlines and officials stalled the search, leaving it briefly deadlocked then. Law requires 11 crew aboard. MH370 carried only 10. Second, the plane was untracked for 3 hours and no rescue began. A grave lapse, since rules require emergency action within 5 minutes of lost contact. Clearly, MH370's loss was tied to airline management. 2 years earlier, it had a wing scrape accident. After repairs, planes should get checks before flying again. But this one wasn't properly inspected before crashing. After MH370, Malaysia withheld full flight data and radar logs. This sparked speculation that officials may be hiding key facts amid the region's corruption accusations. Also, some search decisions by Malaysian officials were questioned too. For example, early officials first focused on searching the South China Sea, then widened it to the Indian Ocean. This odd shift left international aviation investigators even more bewildered. With key details withheld and the search misdirected to the South China Sea, they struggled and found no floating debris. Had Malaysia been frank from the start, the search might not have dragged on in vain. Media and public then questioned officials. Many believe Malaysian officials hid details, fearing MH370 would harm the country's global image and economy. Otherwise, they wouldn't be reopening this cold case even now. Then, your thoughts. 8. The mysterious crash site, the costliest air disaster search. 2014 to 2017 China, Malaysia and Australia spent over $160 million, showing how elusive MH370's crash site is. Early in the search, Malaysia's opaque updates kept efforts near the last contact area, until officials released military radar data and satellite link points. Doppler effect was key in tracking lost contact and possible locations. In satellite communications, Doppler shift measures a moving object's speed, like an aircraft, relative to a fixed satellite. As a plane moves, Doppler shift changes its signal frequency. Satellites can detect that shift to compute accurately the plane's position or speed around contact loss. MH370 pinged an Indian Ocean satellite for 6 hours, sending signal. These signals include Doppler shifts, Analyzing them lets scientists infer the plane's post-contact route and speed. Beyond Doppler clues, searches used fuel burn, airspeed, and winds to further narrow the search area down. However, marine complexity and limited search tools mean MH370's crash site remains unknown. We can only infer it flew for hours after contact, then fell somewhere in the Indian Ocean. Lacking precise location data, 27 nations joined to find MH370 faster. The search zone grew to 120,000 kilometers squared. Aircraft and ships scanned 4.6 million kilometers squared across the Indian Ocean surface. 7th, sudden plane wreckage. Early in the search, teams from multiple nations hunted MH370 for 15 months, scanning 60,000 plus square kilometers of seabed alone. In end, no MH370 trace. Everyone lost hope. In July 2015, on Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean, beach cleaners found a flaperon by chance. Boeing tests confirmed it was debris from MH370. At last, sure. Boeing 777 wings each have a flaperon mainly controlling climb and descent. This was the first MH370 debris seen after it vanished, confirming it fell into sea and everyone aboard died. 5,000 kilometers from search site, debris ID could narrow the plane's resting area and aid recovery of flight data and cockpit voice recorders. Yet shifting seas and time keep MH370 elusive. 2017. Malagasy Tatali found a metal panel on beach. Took it home. His wife used it as washboard 5 years. Not until November 2022 did MH370 Hunter Blaine find debris at Tatali's home. This fragment matches other MH370 wing debris already found. Experts confirmed this fragment is MH370's left landing gear trunnion door part. It bears 4 clear, nearly parallel, deep penetrating cuts. These gouges may come from turbine blade fragments, suggesting gear was down on impact, as engine or gear debris could have scraped the trunnion door during breakup, leaving distinct marks. Experts suspect this because pilots rarely lower landing gear before a crash. It raises the chance the plane breaks apart more. Reports and speculations say the landing gear dropped near the end, possibly signaling criminal intent behind the crash. However, aviation experts say it's the most valuable debris since MH370 vanished, yet it only shows the jet didn't hit water in an ideal ditching attitude. This doesn't rule out failure deploying the landing gear, but even if it was manual, it wasn't necessarily crew. Do you think it was opened by hand? 6. Odd flight path. Civilian radar missed MH370, but Malaysian military radar reacquired it hours after contact was lost. By then the jet had veered off its planned route. Radar shows the plane turned west, then flew low over Malaysia-Thailand border near Malay Peninsula. Witnesses saw plane cross Malay Peninsula near Pulau Perak, Malaysia, head southwest, then turn northwest and vanish over Andaman Sea off western Malaysia, Thailand, and northern Indonesia. Track northwest, 200 nautical miles. MH370 vanished from Malaysian radar at 2:22 a.m., leaving the Andaman Sea. The plane flew south, crashing in ocean, before vanishing. MH370's track was bizarre. It ignored the plan, made many turns and speed shifts, even reversing course. These odd maneuvers let MH370 evade 2 radars, so the tower couldn't track its location. U.S. crash investigator John Cox, 14,000 plus hours, says MH370's disappearance was deliberate and route odd. Evidence shows the plane couldn't make repeated turns or such a twisted route unless it was commandeered. Canadian air crash investigator Larry Vance says MH370's crash was clearly deliberate. From wing debris, he inferred the flaperon was down, meaning the pilot controlled plane until the end. 2 investigators suspected it was a carefully planned suicide. Someone else controlling the plane doesn't always mean pilot mental issues. It may be hijacking, with criminals threatening, forcing pilots to change course. Some propose a more radical hypothesis. MH370 was attacked on its original flight to Beijing, military or extraterrestrial. 5th, eerie climb. Some wonder, if MH370 was in trouble, Why didn't more passengers call the ground or resist attackers? With 6 hours of calm flight still available? After vanishing from civilian radar, Malaysian military radar saw MH370 quickly climb from 8,000 to 13,716 meters above limits, briefly drop to 7,010, then climb again. Main doubt: why plane climbed so high? This model rarely exceeds 11,000 meters. Could cabin depressurization have caused passengers oxygen deprivation? Passengers wouldn't notice the action unless drop-down oxygen masks popped out, or crew used one of a few similar portable units. Oxygen masks last under 15 minutes, and that's only when you're still below 10,000 meters altitude. Above 13,000 meters, cabin passengers can lose consciousness within minutes. Many passengers pass out, so they won't react properly to the plane's abnormal behavior. Many may wonder, if passengers lack oxygen, wouldn't the cockpit crew then also suffocate too? Cockpit oxygen differs from the cabin, with its own masks lasting hours. So crews stay conscious during sudden emergencies at high altitude. Reports say the co-pilot wasn't in the cockpit during the abnormal climb, raising chances captain flew alone. Deciding oddly? Some theories say the captain intended suicide and cut off contact with the ground. Another says he was hijacked and made to act. No direct evidence, but terrorism or electronic jamming may explain the plane's abnormal climb. Which guess seems likeliest to you? Then fourth, a suspicious passenger. Probing MH370 passengers, Interpol found 2 had boarded using stolen passports and others' identities. 2 passengers used passports of Italian Luigi Maraldi and an Austrian, both reported lost in 2012 and 2013. Italy and Austria confirmed these 2 passports' original holders never boarded flight MH370. 2 passengers' use of false passports drew speculation and attention. Australian media reported an Australian flyer was invited into a Malaysia Airlines cockpit in 2011, but this is absolutely banned on airliners. Surprisingly, the co-pilot who let him in was the same as MH370's co-pilot, with 2 unidentified passengers. This seems plausible. Authorities investigated and cleared 2 passengers of terror ties. They were trying to sneak into Europe, and 1 passenger's mother came to Frankfurt to meet them there. Authorities also vetted all other passengers, finding no terrorist ties. Does that rule out such suspicions now? Were there any oversights in this? Number 3. The pre-simulated route. In August 2016, Malaysian officials officially revealed MH370's captain had once simulated a route like the crash flight. Was he the mastermind? After the crash, Captain Zahari drew fire. Once the transponder went dark, any turn back or turn was deliberate. British aerospace expert Richard Godfrey wrote a paper titled "Using Global Detection and Tracking Tech to Find MH370. In his paper, he used WSPR. The day MH370 vanished, about 5,000 WSPR stations actively operated worldwide. These broadcast stations form a hidden detector web among the clouds, like movie-style invisible beam anti-theft systems. As objects cross this net, like a thief tripping a light beam alarm, technicians use data analysis to track flying targets. By studying Malaysia, the Malacca Strait, and the Indian Ocean region MH370 crossed, Richard found 518 distinct WSPR paths. He analyzed them alongside satellite records and debris drift location data, enabling him to reconstruct MH370's flight track on the day it vanished. Richard concluded MH370's complex route was likely carefully and entirely captain-controlled. Such advanced flying demands expertise and experience, so he thinks MH370's disappearance wasn't accidental, but deliberate instead. Captain Zahari was more complex than the co-pilot, backing jailed opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim. March 7, 2014, Malaysia's appeals court convicted Anwar Ibrahim of sexual assault, sentencing him to 5 years prison, hours before MH370 took off. Zahari attended Anwar's hearing. Some say if Zahari disliked the hearing result, he could then take drastic action. MH370 logs show Zaharie asked engineers to top up oxygen and add 3 tons of fuel before takeoff. Very odd. An extra 3 tons of fuel gave Zaharie time to ditch at sea. More chilling. The added oxygen went only into the captain's oxygen bag, not the crew's, but the airline VP said Zaharie was friendly and upbeat, unlikely to hijack, and this pre-planned route was only one of thousands he simulated. Talk that Captain Zaharie meant to die with passengers is deadlocked. Which view do you accept? Second, wreckage on Google Maps. In 2018, UK expert Wilson said he saw MH370 missing 4 years on Google Maps. Wilson says the jet didn't crash in the southeastern Indian Ocean. It lies in Cambodia's jungle. True? Google Maps is a popular online mapping service offering worldwide geographic data and satellite imagery. However, Google Maps satellite imagery isn't real-time. Clouds and low resolution can make some areas' information sometimes inaccurate or missing. Based on the expert's image, some say it's MH370 debris, as its features match a Boeing 777. However, others said it was a dark camouflaged airliner or some other plane. Actually, the plane icon on this satellite map isn't fixed. At the same spot, it disappears in images from other dates. Also, satellite resolution limits make it hard to identify the airliner type accurately. So satellite images alone can't reliably confirm MH370 wreckage location. Perhaps what this British expert saw was just a passenger plane that happened to be flying over the area at that time, which would explain why there was nothing in the report except for a Google Maps photo. Top mystery cargo. About 89 kilograms of undeclared cargo was found on MH370, too heavy for 1 or 2 people to carry aboard. So what was it really? MH370 carried 10,800 kilograms cargo, with 4 containers, 4,500 kg mangosteens, and 21 kilograms lithium battery. These batteries led investigators to focus on them for a while. Investigators found Malaysia Airlines did no checks from the MH370 cargo loading to boarding. So many outlets suspect that this battery shipment may have started a fire on board. This has happened before. EPS Flight 6 and Korea's Asiana 991, both sparked by cargo bay batteries. Yet before crashing, their comms gear sat outside the cargo bay, stayed intact, and sent detailed fire data groundside. Some say 4 MH370 cargo containers of mangosteens were suspect. Since it wasn't mangosteen picking season yet, these mangosteens passed routine checks. Shipped to MH370 after MH370. Authorities even traced the mangosteen orchard and pickers. That turned attention to 89 gin of undeclared goods, flagged on the manifest, yet their exact nature stayed undisclosed publicly. Besides undeclared goods, investigators found an overloaded mysterious container on the plane. No one knew why. Security experts say MH370 may have been hijacked by stowaways. Undeclared cargo and overloaded containers make that theory likelier. Some suspect this undeclared shipment is part of a political or military plot tied to one country's political interests. Some speculate the undeclared cargo tied to the captain's personal actions. A theory says he acted for personal reasons, causing the jet to vanish. What are your speculations on this? Alright, that's all for this video. Which of today's 10 shocking Malaysia Airlines findings struck you most? Tell us please in the comments below.